This is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how long does it take to repair your credit and your credit score. This is a question that a lot of people have asked. How long does it take to repair your credit and increase your scores? And I'm not talking about just like for my company. This is like in general. This is a question that a lot of people have who are affected with a low credit score, who have bad credit, who need to get it repaired so they can move forward in their lives. Because I believe that if you have bad credit, you're sitting there paying more for the same things that people with bad credit pay less for. And I don't believe that you want to be in that situation. You want to be able to have a good lifestyle. You want to be able to move forward in your life, not have surprises, not have people come and take your money, debt collectors coming behind your back suing you. You don't want none of that. You want to try to have a concrete solution, concrete, like like the yellow brick road, to be able, like in the Wizard of Oz, you want to be able to know, if I take this path, will it get me to where I want to be at? And so let me just answer these questions. These are some of the common questions that I get asked in the comment section of my video. So I want to do you a favor and answer these for you. So the first one is, how long will it take to repair your credit? That is one of the most difficult answers for us to answer, because everybody's situation is different. Your situation is going to be different from someone else's. But let me give you like a baseline to think about. And you know this, like, don't be like a person who is thinking about repairing their credit and you're just like blank, like you didn't do nothing. So we all know that everybody who's watching my channel, we're responsible. We know that we made some mistakes. Now we're trying to figure out a way to get out of those mistakes. And we got to do it the right way. That's the way I did it. It took me 5 years. I don't think anyone that's watching my video, I still haven't had anyone. Oh, well, I did have one. My debt was $300,000. I forgot. I just settled one about a month ago that was $450,000, and I had to help that couple resolve that debt. So they were at $450,000, and they needed to get that resolved, and then they start working on their credit. So now, how long does it take? The baseline is, you got to look at, is your stuff fresh? Like, do you have stuff that is fresh, that is freshly charging off? If it's freshly charging off, your credit repair process, depending on your finances, because usually if they're charging off, there's a problem with the finances. But let's just say that they're charging off. Finances are okay. If things could get reworked and if you can do settlements, you would be able to move forward. And I have a lot of clients that are in that situation. So if they're freshly charged off and you stop paying, but you do have cash flow, then the quickest way to resolve your credit repair issues, your bad credit issues, is to start approaching those creditors before they move to the next phase, to see if you can resolve them for less than you owe. Even if you have to do it with payment arrangements, it will still help your credit start to rebuild. And even though those accounts are charged off, they're going to show that you have some sort of agreement in place, and it's going to allow your credit to start moving up. But here's something that happens, and this frustrates the hell out of people, frustrated the hell out of me when I was going through my credit repair stuff, is that some of the creditors, they don't want to resolve it because they have a policy, in-house policy, to package up all of those bad debts and sell them to a debt collector. It's just their own in-house policy. And people will get frustrated. They'll be like, I'm trying to give you the money. And they will be like, we cannot take the money. Some of the time they've already sold the account, but it's like in this little gray area where it has to finish getting packaged up. And If you've ever been sued by a debt collector, this is how you can validate what I'm telling you is true. They'll have a bill of sale, and you will see that the bill of sale has a back date on there. It'll be like say it's 2024 now. It's 2024 when I'm making this video. And you'll see that purchase date on that debt would have like 2021, 2022, or a year before. And you're like, well, why did it take them that long to get it over to me? And when you call and talk to the debt collector, they say, we just got this debt on our books. That's because the way it works is these portfolio companies buy the debts, and they also have agreements in advance. And so what the credit card company providers are doing is they're just like packaging everything up. They're like, we want to balloon this up as big as possible. We got some other accounts that are coming. Hold off on it. But the contract is signed, but they want to throw some more into that portfolio. And it frustrates the hell out of people because that can actually make your credit repair process get extended. Because you can try to contact the original creditor all day, any day, and they will not be able to take any money on that account. And they will forward you over to or they'll give you the information to who owns the debt. And until they get it through their system, whatever process they have, they get it in their system, they're able to start moving on that debt. They won't even do anything. You can contact them and they'll be like, you have to wait. And that frustrates the hell out of people, especially if you're trying to move forward. And so you have to understand that is the process if you're dealing with it early in the game. Now, if your credit has just been blown up, you've been sitting there, you've been suffering for a number of years, and you tried to go get approved, and all of a sudden you're just like, I got to do something about this. That's going to be a lot easier to deal with, because then the way that we do it, and you can do this too, is you start hitting the owners of the debt, especially if they're debt collectors, because you will usually find that there's issues with the accuracy of that reporting. You could see it sometimes across the board where the original creditor had an amount, and then you go and you look at the debt collector that purchased the debt and they got a different amount on there, or stuff just isn't matching. And this is where it comes in, where what we do is we state specifically that the information is not accurately showing. And according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you have a right to make sure that all of the information on your credit reports is accurate. And that goes for positive information and negative information. That's all it comes down to. You could owe the debt to the debt collector. You could owe the debt to the original creditor. Does not matter. It has to be accurate, because the Fair Credit Reporting Act is about reporting. It's not about you paying the debt. So it does have something to do with the reporting of you paying the debt. But for the purposes of this video, if you haven't paid it, it's been sitting there all this time, you have a right to challenge the way that information is being reported if you believe it's not being accurately reported. When we speak to people about specific debts, they are like totally blindsided with some of the amounts that some of the debt collectors thrown there, because there could be fees that were ballooned up. There could be fees from the debt collector. You just never know. And that right there, it just point blank shows that there could be inaccuracies with the way that it's being reported. Now, it's been sitting there. Let's just say that you have charge-offs on your credit report. They have been sold to debt collectors. One of the options that you do have is you can contact with a certified letter the original creditor and state you are reporting this inaccurate because you sold this debt. You took money for this debt. And I know that there's been people who said, well, hey, they charged it off and they sold it. They have a right to sell it. Yes, they do, but they show it charged off on there. This is what you need to do, so you don't have to take my word on it. You can, if you've ever had a debt that was purchased by, let's just say you own a home and it was purchased by another mortgage servicer. You will see on there, it does not say that it was paid by you. It does not say that it was paid by them. It will just say that it was sold to. It'll say paid in full, sold to. That's because that's the technicality, quote unquote technicality of the way reporting is supposed to be done. So if your original creditor sells a debt to a debt collector, the way that it's supposed to be reported is that they sold it. They could put sold, paid less, but they have to mark on there that it was sold. If they don't mark on there that it was sold, then they're not accurately reporting. And this is the way that we've been doing this for years. I had noticed this when I was going through my process in the 1990s. I was like, once we had taken care of debts with the original creditors, that they were putting on there that it was paid for less, but they didn't mark that it was paid for less by us. It was like it was paid for less. And then later, when I was starting to look at other stuff, like when I had my mortgage and it was sold to another mortgage company, not by me, but it was just sold by another mortgage company, it would state on there that it was sold. And I was like, this is only about reporting. It is not, it does not pertain at all to who the individual is. This statement, this in the comments, is only based on what actually happened with that particular debt. So if it's sold to a debt collector, it needs to be reported that it was sold to a debt collector. And what we've found out is that when we challenged the original creditors on this, that some of the original creditors chose to take that information off of the credit reports because they know that it's being reported inaccurately. Another big question that we have is, what's the fastest way to raise my credit scores? And that's a big one, because really the end result of everything with credit repair is that everybody wants to have their scores increased. The first thing that you got to do is you got to repair your credit first. Like I tell people this, there's several products that are out there, and it's just this big puzzle on the ground, if you can imagine, and people look at this piece here and it says I can increase my scores. They look over at this piece, these other products to increase their scores. The credit reporting agencies have different products. There's all this stuff that's out there, AU trade lines that you can put on to boost your scores. But the bottom line is that credit repair has to be the first piece of that puzzle. If your credit is not up to par, none of those other products are going to work for you. And when you go to try to get a loan, or you try to get a mortgage, you try to do something, it's going to come back to hurt you. So maybe you got a little bit of a boost, but not much, because if you got bad credit on there, you're not going to be able to get the full benefit of any of these boost products that are available to you. So the fastest way to raise your score is to deal with your bad credit first. Like, put all of your energy into resolving your bad credit, and then move to the products that are available to you to boost your scores. Can you repair your credit on your own? Do you need a professional? You do not need a professional. Yes, you can repair your credit on your own. We can do anything on our own. Just the other day, I had to take 2 of my vehicles to get the oil changed and the filters changed, and some work done on the headlight. I dropped it off at the repair shop because I want to do better things with my time. I don't want to have to sit there and do stuff that I could just pay someone else to do. Someone else that knows what they're doing. One of the things that my wife and I, we talk about this a lot. Like, this is something that's huge. When you work with someone who knows what they're doing, stuff just gets done. Like whenever you're speaking to someone and they really don't know what they're doing, and you'll know it right from the beginning because the work that you ask them to do, they're not, jumping on it to get it done. They're just like delaying. It takes weeks, months, for them to get going. Not to say that stuff has to be done and finished right away, but you should see that work is being done, because when work is being done, progress can start to happen. But when work is not being done, progress can happen. And I've ran into this dealing with attorneys. I've ran into this dealing with auto mechanics who didn't know what they were doing. And I'm pretty sure you've ran into it with people who claim that they can repair your credit. Credit repair is a process. Yes, you can do it on your own, but you need to understand, if you do it on your own and if you get with a company that knows what they're doing, it's going to be a process, and there is no quick fixes. Zero. Anyone who says that there's a quick fix to credit repair, run away from them. Anyone who says that you can resolve 100% all of your negative credit without ever having potential settlements be involved, run away from them, because they're not really doing credit repair. They're just having you try to run from your responsibilities. The next thing is, what credit score do you need to qualify for a mortgage, car loan, or credit card? Car loan and credit card, that's going to depend on if you have negative stuff on there. Can't have any repos on your credit report. I know that there's some places that'll give you a car. I don't know why they do it with having repos, because it's just like there's a setup for failure. Credit cards, there, no negative stuff, maybe some, but you're going to get high risk type credit cards that are going to be another setup, putting yourself in another situation. For mortgage, and we have a lot of people who come to us for a mortgage. They want to know, how can they get qualified for a mortgage? What's the credit score that they need? There's different programs. The lowest one that I've seen was about a 659, 665 to get approved, but you're going to have a higher interest rate. But you're paying 100% interest anyway if you're renting from a landlord, so that doesn't really matter as long as you can fit it into your budget and then get your credit in a better place, and then you can, refinance as long as you keep everything in order. But here's the thing that you need to understand, and this is why what I said earlier comes into play about resolving everything. Because when you go to get a mortgage, they're going to look at more than just what's on your credit report. They're going to dig deep into your personal history. They're going to look at outstanding accounts that you might have that are unresolved. Number one, everything on your credit report has to be resolved, and it cannot be disputed. You cannot not have any disputes on your credit report for any accounts, or they're going to automatically trigger a decline in your mortgage application. So what we tell people to do is, number one, you have to stop all disputes. Go and get a pre-approval, and then from that pre-approval, they'll tell you what you need to work on and what you don't need to work on. And it will not be a dispute process unless you have a long period of time. Say you got a year, 8 months to a year before you're going to go and get the house because you got to save up for the down payment. Then, you could do some disputing to try to see what you can do to work on that specific collection to get that amount down off your credit, and then work with them to get it down, because you're gonna, even, let's just say, for example, you have a collection on your credit reports and you also owe it. You're working on getting it taken care of with the collection agency, but you also need to get it off your credit reports, because if you have it off your credit reports completely with the resolution with the collection agency, that's going to give you a better opportunity, number one, to have your scores increase, and a better opportunity to get a lower interest rate. So you're going to want to work with that collection agency to get that information removed. If they won't remove it, then once you resolve it with them, you go through the process of credit repair to dispute that. They have no reason to keep that on there, and you get that removed. That's going to help you with your scores. So getting a mortgage, you're going to have to make sure that everything is resolved. And this is what we do at the credit repair shop, is that it's not just about moving stuff off of your credit reports. We go to those furnishers to see if they have any legitimate rights to come after you for those debts. There is a process that they have to actually go through to even continue coming after you for a debt. And what we usually get is by the back and forth with those furnishers, and this goes to, do you need a professional to help you? If you're willing to do that back and forth, talking to them, trying to figure out what's going on, answering those letters that they're sending you back and forth. Because remember, they're dealing with thousands of people, and some of the times they want you to call, some of the times they want you to respond, and you have to respond accordingly. You could get tired because you're doing your other stuff, trying to take care of family and work and all the other stuff that you got to do. Here's another good question is, how do you remove late payments, and do they affect your credit? We normally do not work directly with the bureaus to remove late payments. We ask our clients to, number one, make sure that you make payments 3 months. The sweet spot seems to be 3 months of an account that is open to make those payments, and contact the creditor and ask them for a courtesy to remove it because it's hurting you with your credit. It's hurting your scores. They will normally do it. If they won't do it, you have to be very careful about this, because if you dispute, that original creditor could potentially just wipe out everything, and that's going to make your scores go down. Because if you can imagine, let's just say that you have 24 months of good payment history, and you have 1 month that you had a 30-day late, and you're how we are. We focus so much on the negative. You got all of that good green positive payment history, but you focus on that one negative because that's what you believe is hurting you. And you can challenge that late pay, try to get it removed, and then what can potentially happen is they could just wipe out all of the history. And in some cases with credit card companies, they could feel that there's some sort of fraud that's going on with you making that dispute without contacting them to give them a chance to resolve it, that they could potentially close your credit card account. We have seen that happen. So with our clients, we tell them, hey, contact your company, because you're going to need to work with them to make sure that if you do decide to dispute, some of the times they tell you to. It's different with each company. Some of the times they say, hey, dispute it through the bureau. This is just their process. And you're like, you're the ones that do this, but they say dispute it through the bureau. Some of the times you could ask them to send it to you in writing, so you could send that information with your dispute to the bureau, stating that this is the process that they wanted you to go through to get that late payment removed. Another question is, what is the difference between credit repair and credit counseling? Credit counseling is more towards budgeting, where you're going to put together some type of budget so you can, in a way, stop the bleeding on what you're going through with all of the debts that you have. And some of the times they can set up payment programs for you. I've heard some good and bad things with it. As a matter of fact, in my early years with the credit repair shop, I used to mainly focus on credit counseling, but everybody was so focused on credit repair. So what I did is I incorporated it into the credit repair shop. So I say, hey, get your credit repaired, but you got to get your mindset right, because credit counseling is about getting your mindset right. Because you could get your credit repaired and have a poor mindset, and you're going to be right back where you started, and that you don't want to have that happen. How much would it cost to repair your credit? That's a hard answer too, because if you have settlements that are involved, that's going to be additional cost. Now, for the service, we charge $110.95 for our service. And we work on everything at the beginning from day one. We don't try to draw out anything. We start working on it. But you could have settlements. And if you got settlements, then that's going to take you into another category because you're going to have to work with us on with getting that stuff taken care of. But if the end result and the ultimate goal is to have you in a better place and to get this stuff done and really worked on, you must be willing to accept that. The next question was, will paying off debt improve your credit score? Yes, paying off your debt will improve credit scores, but something that you got to be careful of is you don't want to close out those accounts. So if you got credit card accounts or open-end accounts, unless it's your choice, but I'm just going to tell you what could happen is that what will happen if you close out those accounts, your credit scores will drop because part of the algorithm reads what type of accounts you have and are they open and how much credit you're actually using on those available limits that you have available to you. Let's see. Another good question was, what are hard inquiries and will they affect your credit scores? Hard inquiries are like if you go to try to actually get a loan. There's a lot of companies now, what they do what's called a soft pull, where it doesn't affect your credit, but it does show on there. But something that you do need to be alerted of is that all of the companies can even see soft pulls. Yes, it doesn't hurt you with the algorithm of the credit reporting, with the credit reporting agencies, because they haven't actually pulled the trigger. But if you actually go and say, yes, I want to go ahead and get this offer, they're going to do a hard pull on your credit. That's what's required. But again, let's just say you got soft pulls from all these companies. All of the other companies can see those soft pulls. So don't be fooled. It won't hurt your credit to have a soft pull, but all of those other companies will be able to see that and they'll know what you're doing if you're trying to go out there and get a lot of credit. And the hard inquiries, if you take offer from a soft pull, or if you're like going to get a car, house, something like that, that's going to be a hard inquiry. And yes, it could take your scores down some points when you do that. I've seen, as much as 5 points on there. Something else that you should be aware of that you should don't let companies do to you. And we saw this a lot with auto lenders, is if you go into a dealership and they pull your credit, don't let them pull 50 other lenders. They should just do one. You can dispute all of those other lenders because you went in there and you only approved to have one pull your credit. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little question and answer session. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com to grab your TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian credit reports and all 3 scores. If you have debt collectors coming after you, grab my 3-pack of letters, statute of limitations letter, debt validation letter, and cease and desist collection activities letter. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, post your questions and comments. Thank you for your time. And until next time, this is Stephen A. Williams, President and Founder of thecreditrepairshop.com.